On the previous episode of Speedaddixx Garage, new approach. All right, Josh at Underground Racing said instead of doing a 3, we're gonna do a .0015.
It's for all those listening that are interested in accuracy, it's actually Underground Garage.
What I say?
You keep saying Underground Racing.
Yeah, it ain't Underground Racing, it's Underground Garage. Let's go pick up our newly built transmission. This is it?
Yeah.
Dang, boy, y'all even paint your stuff black?
Yeah.
That's what's up. And you even dated too. Hey everybody, this is Jason Wicker. If you don't know about Jason Wicker, if you are from the central area of North Carolina and you need like a performance transmission done, it don't matter who you talk to, this is the guy that always come up. I ain't never met him. I was privileged to meet him. When you don't know nobody that's famous kinda, you always like, man, what they look like, you know what I mean? Who knew that this joker looked like a retired bodybuilder slash brand new country singer? Yeah. Ain't that right, Mom? She said she don't know about that. I bet that joker got some vocals. But what we end up having to do to the 4 old lady?
So you had the string automatic valve body.
Yup.
We ended up putting the billet 34 element drum in the wreck. It's got all Alto clutches.
Alto, that's who you go with. Alto is probably.
I normally do either Alto or Robusta Stage 1 clutches.
Mm-hmm.
Got all new sprags, bushings, spacer, your
pump saver. Yep. Okay.
Pump saver. Got aluminum apply piston and a direct drum instead of molded piston.
Okay. What's the purpose of that?
They send heavier springs, so a lot of times the molded piston is it's like a flat steel. This is an aluminum piston.
Okay.
So I always put the aluminum piston in because it's stronger.
Right.
Much spring pressures you put in there with 200 pounds of fluid pressure, sometimes it tends to blow that bond off of that seal. Okay. And then you end up with burnt clutches.
Right. So what did you find when you opened up the transmission?
Trying to remember, it's been a while since I took it apart.
Yeah, I think I lost pump pressure, so something happened and something that caused something else to happen.
You had a bad center support.
Yep.
The center support where the sealing rings seal off to the direct drum was eat up, and it eat the drum up. So you should have had loss of, should have been slipping in 3rd gear.
Yeah, and it was slipping. I think 2 to 3.
Yeah.
And that race against that Mustang. All right, so what's this plugged in?
All right, so plug, the top one is your trans brake wire.
Yep.
The bottom one is your lockup wire.
Okay.
Are you running a bump box on the car?
So yeah, I want to run a bump box.
Okay. It says something in there about the bump box. They don't want you to cut the ground on their cylinder.
Yeah, I think I remember reading. So I got to study that, and I got to look at that a little hard, and maybe even get my help from my boy on that one. But
yeah, so they want you to do a power.
Yeah, power bump, not a ground triggered bump. Okay. Yeah. Before we put the engine in, let's paint the engine bay. All right, fam, I hit a lot of spots with some fiberglass resin, sanded it all down, finished taping off everything. I'm using a jack stand to kind of prop up some few things that I want to paint underneath of. We got bare spots, we got sanded spots, and then we got some spots with paint. I'm using self-etching primer for the bare metal spots. Then I'm gonna put this on first, maybe 1 or 2 light coats, basically truck bed coating. It gives it like a little bit of a texture, kind of adds a little bit of rigidity. And then I'm gonna top it off with some of this gloss black from Rust-Oleum. You got the self-etching primer on. Give it about 2 or 3 hours, then we'll start putting some black on. All right, fam, this is what the truck bed liner looks like. Close up with the sun hitting it. The bed liner stuff, it gives it like a texture, and then believe it or not, it actually covers up some imperfections. I had a spot here where when I sanded it down, the paint was higher than the bare metal. So this actually covered it up quite well. But the only problem with that stuff is when you go to scratch it with your nail, it kind of leaves almost like a faint white type of look to it. I'm not a fan of it. That's the reason why we're not leaving it like that, and we're gonna hit it with some gloss black. The gloss black will be a little bit harder, but it'll still have that texture on the base. All right, I'm not sure where we're at, but if this is an introduction, welcome to Speedaddixx Garage. If it's not an introduction, let me give you the progress on the 240. I've been working hard at it for the past week, and let me show you where we're at. Wow, check that out. Got the motor installed. I did my best not to damage any of the new paint that we got on the engine bay. Again, the paint is bed liner, and I topped it off with Rust-Oleum gloss black. This is as far as we got. We got our new Holley fuel rails on, thanks to Bryan. I'm not for sure if this is like an old style or a new style, but it didn't have any kind of bracketry, so I had to drill 2 holes, put the L bracket on it. A cool thing is my crossover. Normally when you got an LS, the crossover is like 290s and it go directly that way. Of course, if I did a 90, it would run into this map sensor. So I was able to utilize 245s, which is actually good because when you get a kit like this, usually come with like 2 straights, 2 45s, 2 U's, and then they come with 2 90-degree bends. And of course, the 90-degree bends are usually the most common to use and get used up the most. In our case, we need a 90 at the fuel pump hanger. Here's my my -8 U fitting. I've never had to use one of them before, but it actually kind of makes everything nice. And we got everything as far as the turbo side done up. On my previous setup, I had my fuel pressure regulator on this side. I decided to put it on this side. I don't know why. I think it maybe cleans it up a little bit. I kind of don't like it close to the turbo, but we'll have to see how it works. I got my little 90-degree female to female in from Amazon, and then basically my return line is gonna run up under the throttle body straight to the back. As far as my wiring, I bought a little bit more of this protecting stuff. It's just some cheap stuff from Amazon. You don't have to de-pin anything and run it across. This is the kind that you can cut at the length, and it's Velcroed, so it works out real nice as far as not having to de-pin stuff to slide the solid sleeve over. Basically, I got stuff like the starter wire, all-time hot to the starter. I got all that stuff basically coated and kind of protected because the downpipe does come down through this way, and I don't want to burn anything. The injectors we're using this time, we got rid of our Deca 80s, and I mean, now you can't see it, maybe you can, but these are the SEPs 1500s. SEP stands for Snake Eater Performance. The good thing about these is this is actually in Holley, so I don't have to do anything with latency or none of that stuff. I can just literally click on it and all the information is already inputted in. The only problem is we're going from an EV1 plug, I think it's to like a Urus plug or whatever it is. That's what the plug look like. I want to say it's like the factory truck manifold or factory truck injector pigtail, but normally I would de-pin all this stuff and solder in or wire in just this plug instead of having this conversion harness. But I said I'm gonna give it a shot, and to be honest with you, with it plugged in, it don't look too terribly out of place, especially from this angle. Another thing for the Holley people, a lot of time when you do the Holley, it comes not with this plug here. Let me show you the plug it comes with. Normally the Holley comes factory with this plug, and then you have to get the conversion harness that goes from this male deal to that. I decided to cut the harness back, solder the wires together to kind of shorten it because this thing was obviously too long. I think they don't want you to cut and solder anything on the Holley harness, but the way I look at it, man, I'm not leasing this harness like leasing a car. This is my harness, and I'm gonna do what I want to with it. How about that? Also for the injectors, I'm using this top hat spacer. Basically what this spacer does is it takes this shorter injector and it makes it the same height as the Siemens Deca injectors, which is basically the same height as the LS1 injectors. With me running my fuel pressure regulator over here, of course I'm using a 0 to 100 PSI transducer from Low Dollar Motorsports. With that being said, this is the fuel line, or excuse me, the fuel pigtail. To be honest with you, I could probably de-loom all this and stretch it over to that side, but I don't want to do that, man. I'm gonna go the butcher, the hack, and solder route. And I've already got rid of this one. I had to shorten this one, so I'm just gonna probably just do this number, and then it's gonna snake up on the intake manifold and go to that. Normally, I had the fuel filter sitting on the inside of the frame rail. To be honest with you, this is kind of like the best spot that I want to put it. It's in the fender well. The tire does not touch it. As you can see, I got my oil pressure sensor. Same thing, 0 to 100 PSI transducer from Low Dollar Motorsports. I had to shorten that cable. And with the tire fully turned, with steering wheel fully turned to the left, it does not touch. Just to gauge how much space, oh my goodness, it does touch. So up under the car, right now I'm doing my fuel lines. All these lines are PTFE, and they are the eBay brand. We'll see how they work out. For anybody with a 480, just to give you an idea, that's how much spacing I had to add off of this transmission brace to get my pinion angle like it needed to be without having any vibrations. For example, I had vibrations around 80 miles an hour. This 480 kit came with a transmission mount insulator. It was made by, Energy Suspension, so it was a real stiff one. I converted it to a stock one, and believe it or not, that actually eliminated my vibration. Yeah, maybe that'll help somebody out, and it works. Coming back here to the back, this is the custom fuel pump hanger assembly. So far everything looks good. I just need to finish up my wiring. You can already kind of get an idea of what I'm doing. Dash 10 gauge coming out of that bulkhead fitting, going to this daggone pigtail. I did this pigtail from scratch. You can buy it as a kit. You just have to use an open ring crimp to crimp everything together. And we're gonna put both our relays over here. So in order to secure all of these fuel lines so that we don't have any vibrations, any chance of anything getting hung up and causing a fire and killing me, I used what they call P-clamps. P-clamps are these deals here, or cushion clamps. I mean, make a long story short, if you look at the side of them, they're shaped like a P. So that's how it works out for me. Oh, snap, I got a flow, bruh. And then of course I drilled holes and secured everything using 3/16 aluminum rivets. So I'm not sure if you can see that, but that deal right there, that is my E85 Flex fuel sensor. As you can tell, I got a plug that's going straight to the Holley. Thanks for Chris at Crawford Racing for making me this harness. And what I want to show you is, see how it's got this round end on it right there? Most people put like a hose on it with a barb. Since we're doing E85, I don't want any rubber on this fuel system. So I bought these fittings right here that basically are designed to push lock into place. One side of it is a male -6. The inside of it has got 2 O-rings inside. And when you push it on there, the smooth side goes onto the O-ring. And then you got these little open spots here that when you push it hard enough, this little plastic piece clicks it into place. Just like that. All right, guys, you saw that I got everything soldered up and heat shrink. Everything is secure. Now I need to wrap it with what I'm gonna use is some electrical tape. I don't have any more of this stuff, but before I do that, check out this new stuff that I'm decided to start using. I've been using it for a while now, thanks to Adam, Revin 9K. It's called Tessa tape. Also, thanks Josh, because he actually knew the exact name of it. It's Tessa tape, T-E-S-A. This tape is like a cloth type material. Instead of using that Scotch stuff or the 3M stuff that's real glossy, I don't know, man. This kind of flat black look with a little texture to it. I'm kind of digging this. Also, before I forget, I lowered my oil filter mount, maybe like 3/4 of an inch or so, and the tire is not touching. That's full lock. I do not like how this sensor kind of hangs out, so I think I might go to the parts store and get me like another like 45, maybe another 90. Basically, I'm gonna try to bring that sensor more so in the inside, pointing towards the engine. And also, I got my dual MAC valve set up, and then I also got, remember, I drilled a section at the bottom of that wastegate for my pressure transducer. I got to find it. I think I ordered one specifically for this, but then again, I may have possibly used it for that. I do have a 0 to 300 PSI, but that's kind of like overkill, you know what I mean? The amount of dome pressure we're gonna be putting on there is definitely not gonna be anywhere near that number. But as you can tell, compressor, this is boost, comes in, tees off to the bottom port, goes into the MAC valves, comes out the MAC valve, and then that goes into the top port. And between that combination, the Holley, man, we're gonna have controlled boost control. We're gonna have boost control on the fly, and we're gonna have boost control. So just a little taste into the wiring, using this CNC billet valve body made by Extreme Automatics. Now that it's a manual transmission, we do not need this plug anymore. I mean, what I mean is the other end, the male end of the plug used to be this circle piece. As you can tell now, it's just 2 prongs. Let me see if I can get this out. So yeah, it's just 2 prongs in there now. I always keep wiring just from random jobs, blah, blah, blah. Luckily enough, I had this sitting in my junk pile, and it actually happens to be the exact same plug. I think it's maybe like a horn plug or something like that, maybe off a Nissan, in case somebody was curious. I don't know, I'm just taking a guess. But make a long story short, it's 2 wires coming out of here. This top wire, which is the black wire, is considered the trans brake, and then this orange wire, aka the bottom wire, this is torque converter lockup. So what I have done is since I'm running a solid state relay, the output of the solid state relay is this blue line, and it's going into the top. What I did is I used a spade connector. I probably should have documented it, but basically it's a male, female, and it's the bullet style where you push it into place. What I ended up doing is I put a couple layers of heat shrink on the insulated side, because I don't know if you know, but sometimes when you separate these plugs, the actual coating that be on the crimp section to pull off, and it'll leave basically the crimp terminal. It's aggravating. So I heat shrink that on both sides, and then I went a step further, plugged it in, and I got a piece of heat shrink over the actual plug-in section. So if I ever want to unplug this, I need to cut that heat shrink, and then I can unplug it. I'm trying to clean up the wiring, for example. I got this wire here, pigtail. It runs down around the exhaust manifold. It comes out through that firewall point right there. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to run this stuff like along the frame rail like that. Of course, it's not gonna stay put. So in my radium box, I bought these, I don't know what they are, but they're squares. And as you can see, all 4 sides got an opening. It's designed to go on a flat surface, and then you can use a zip tie to go either direction to secure something. Huh? What you say? Oh, what fan and radiator I'm using? Oh, I'm using a Coolio dual pass, meaning that it come in one way, goes across, goes down this side tank, goes back across, and it come out the bottom. See that divided section right there? Yeah, so that means it's a dual pass. And I'm running the Raleigh Performance dual fans. I want to say this is twin, like 13 and a half. It's not two 12s. They're like bigger than 12s. That's why they're staggered. And then on top of that, together these jokers flow 4,000 CFMs. I mean, put it this way, the jokers are so strong that 2 40 amp fuses are recommended, and you need a 40 to 60 amp relay, okay? And if you want to know the relay to get, these right here, Bueller, this is like the top brand that you can get. I work in the aviation industry, and everything that take a relay has one of these on there, 12 volt, 40 to 60 amp. These jokers work. And again, I gotta find my clamp, man. Tech tip of the day, if any of you cats like to go to the U-Puller yard, if you ever go out there and you can't find nothing, there's a few things you can get for free. Nuts and bolts, okay? 10 mils. And then another thing is these right here. If you don't know, the Europeans make some of the best clamps on the market. Now you see how this clamp look? It looks small and skinny, but look at the ribs on that joker. This clamp right here, the Volvos, BMWs, Audis, they make some of the best clamps, and I highly recommend them. My little tab right here that I use to hold my radiator in place, I don't know why I did it, but I got 2 little small tack welds. I thought it was gonna be enough, but it's actually one of the tacks are broke and it's on this last ear. So I'm gonna go and clean this section up, hit that with a MIG, and we're gonna keep this thing moving. Look at them stack of MIG dimes. Why? Yeah, they're like trash, man. Could have been hotter. But you see how I slotted that deal? Now I can move this bracket right here up and down. Before, it kind of wasn't flush like I wanted or had enough tension on it. But now we good. Can't forget to brush that joker. I had to take the pan off to weld in this bung for this transmission temperature sensor. This is where I decided to put it at. I could have made a T, put it in line with the daggone pressure line coming out of the transmission, going into the transmission cooler. But this is where I want it. I want it at the bottom. So with the pan off, this is a good time to show y'all the goodies on the valve body. Show y'all the goodies on the inside of the transmission. Wow, check out what we got here. We got that daggone custom valve body, 4080, Extreme Automatics. You see the ME and the CS out there. I ain't gonna take that filter off, but you see it, daggone it. We got the tree killer in here, AKA the trans brake. And then we got this solenoid right here that looks like it's probably the TCC, AKA the torque converter lockup. There's the 2 wires going to the outside of the case. And thanks to my boy Jason Wicker, yo, we about to be 2-stepping and daggone picking up the front wheels on this little mug. Welcome back to Speedaddixx Garage. It's a new day, and I'm super pumped because I've ordered a part. I've been waiting for it. It finally arrived today. We can install this part with a few other things, and then we can fire this up off camera. I topped off everything with coolant. I got oil in the motor. I have put what was recommended to put in the transmission to start with, which was 7 to 8 quarts. It's touching the dipstick, downpipe, exhaust, O2 sensors, everything is hooked up. Let me show you also what I got done in the back of the car. The battery's been charging for one. As you can tell, we're at 100%. Of course, y'all seen that I've got my fuel pump assembly already installed, and I also went ahead and wired up all of my pigtails. All of my pigtails I got off of BallingerMotorsports.com. They got anything from Toyota, GM to Universal stuff. This is a Universal pigtail setup that's meant for 10 gauge. This is some big stuff. Both of these are separate. One is for my 525 fuel pump, which that says 525. The other one is for my Aeromotive 340. Let me show you the last item that we need to install, which is gonna be a benefit and a modification to this vehicle. Wow, check this out. This is the Holley CAN input output module. Make a long story short, the Holley Terminator Max has 4 inputs, 4 outputs. If you're trying to do anything serious with your car, you're gonna run out of them inputs and outputs fairly quickly. So they have made this module right here. It allows you to have an additional 8 inputs and 8 outputs. And then also, most importantly, you have a bunch of extra grounds and a bunch of 5-volt references. In other words, you can use that thing to wire up a bunch of sensors, whether you want a shock sensor, or in my case, I'm gonna be using transmission pressure, transmission temperature, and I'm gonna be using dome pressure as well. Taking a peek at this harness, this is how I decided to go with my harness. Honestly, you could take any of the wires that's going to your sensors and just put them into here. You can also solder them together. But I don't know, man. I wanted to have a quick disconnect, something a little bit tighter. So what I ended up doing is, since I'm running, for example, a dome pressure sensor, is 3 wires. I just got a 3-wire pigtail based on the diameter of the wire that I was using. So, and then as you can tell here, the same thing. And then my last item here is a 2-wire pigtail, because that's going to be running to transmission temperature. Here go a couple of more of the pigtails I got from Ballinger Motorsports. This one here is for the temperature. So all I gotta do now is wire this in, and that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for the terminals that go inside of there. So let's go ahead and knock that out. So we're gonna go into the passenger side where the other end of these wires are, and we're basically gonna wire everything up to the pigtails. This is a good time to explain. You need to have some kind of written reference to know exactly everything that you got that you're gonna be wiring up, so that you can double and triple check everything. The last thing you wanna do is wire something up and forget what color you use, which wire you use, which input output did you use. So I printed all this stuff off the Holley website. This is the generic 4 in, 4 out stuff. It tells you what it's assigned to. And then I broke it down to these 2 boxes here and basically filled in the blank. I know this is gonna be changed because this is gonna be going to my my extra input output module, but for the most part you get the gist. E85 bump stage 2. This is going to be an input coming from my bump switch from the steering wheel. Then it's going to be an output going to the trans brake B11, wire B11. Of course, you got your fans. I'm running the dual Holley Mac valve setup, the plus and minus deal, and yeah, you get the gist. And I go to the passenger side, and I have lost some transmission freaking fluid. So I'm taking my air gun and I'm hitting like all these edges around the lip to try to clean everything up. And I'm noticing that when I'm blowing the air right here, it's like a bunch of fluid coming out. So that lets me know that there's probably a gap right there, which means that this pan is not level. I mean, I see a couple marks on it, but yeah, I'm gonna have to drain this fluid out, man, and redo this gasket. I forgot to mention too, as far as this Holley CAN input output module works, you got your CAN bus wires, which are already basically wired into this pigtail. They're right there, so you hook it up and you got power, ground, or power at least, and then communication with the Holley. And then it also comes with this ground lead that you need to put to a good spot to give you enough length, I guess, because you probably need to go to the battery. I'm gonna find a good clean spot on the inside of this panel right here. Also, my orange wire, which is the longest wire I have on this harness, if you could tell, it's got one of those spade ends on it that will go to the relay in the back. This right here is gonna be my trigger for the secondary fuel pump. So I'm gonna set y'all up on the GoPro, man. I think I'm about ready to start this. I hope everything work out good. I don't know how long I'm gonna run it. I just want to fire it up. That's it. Check over a few things and maybe continue tomorrow, because I'm ready to go inside and get on Apex Legends and eat some food. On the truth. made a freaking mess. Good gracious, man, I must have bumped that. Hey, you heard it fire up, but my daggone Nissan Titan freaking bit and bent and made a daggone mess, man. But it did fire up though. Speedaddixx Garage. I don't know where I left off, but let me give you an update on the 240, because after this update, we will take it for a drive. My original transmission cooler went out, so I had my spare one in there temporarily. This is a cooler that I got from Advanced Auto. It was like 55 bucks. It was good enough for me to put my fan on. I took some flat stock aluminum that I had, made a little bit of bracketry to bolt it into place. It was Imperial Automotive Products, aka Hayden Automotive. There's the part number 241018. And if you look at the back, that's the dimensions. It's pretty daggone big, almost 16 inches in length, 10 inches in width, 3/4 in thickness. It seems to be working good. Actually, I don't know if it's working good, but I think it's gonna be working good. I had a little issue that when the fans kicked on, both of the fans kicking on at the same time, it would cause the car to cut off, bog down. These Doral fans flow like 4,000 CFMs. And I wanna say, according to Rob Don, man, when they both cut on or each one cut on, we're talking about 40, like together, I think like 80 to 100 amps to kick on. So yeah, what we ended up doing, we ended up staging them. So I ended up taking the one wire to kick on my first my first radiator fan, and then now that we got some extra outputs, I wired up this second one, and that activates my second fan. I may have or may have not tested that button, which is trans brake, and tested this button, which is bump. Basically, I've started it, I played with the idle a little bit. I have taken it down to the end of my cul-de-sac, and I want to drive it a little more to see if I can dial my cruising AFRs in a little bit better. But most importantly, I need to figure out how to manipulate my transmission parameters so that my torque converter lock up. First impressions on this car though, this transmission is violent, especially in reverse. It's got a fixed pressure of roughly like 200 PSI all the time, and that's a little aggressive for reverse. I'm a chirp going into reverse. Transmission parameters. I forgot to turn on the learn feature. My idle is back and forth. I had this mud situated yesterday. It's acting funny all of a sudden. I don't know, but we're gonna drive it though. We're gonna drive it. Took a chirp second. And boost 10-0. I'm back at the shop. The drive went great. The car didn't respond the way I wanted. I couldn't get the torque converter lock up, or at least I didn't feel it. I did check the data logs, and I seen at some points there was 100% TCC duty cycle, but whether that was doing anything or not, I don't know. You seen the trans brake work, you seen the bump work. The first time I did like 0.005, turned it up to 0.0020. And on that second bump, you could tell it was more aggressive. You can hear the tires chirping and stuff. I brought it back down because I don't want my stuff to be braking for no reason, just bumping it and then braking. It is all Nissan components. But I'm gonna end this video, man. I'm gonna chip away at this. We got some more work. Matter of fact, on the other side of the garage door right there that we're gonna do some more fabrication. And I'll check y'all later, man. Be good.